The description in Nectar of Devotion is about Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And from 14 afterwards, that is 15, 16, is Raghanuga Sadhana Bhakti. 17 is Bhava Bhakti, 17 and 18, and 19 is Prema. So that's how the eastern wave of this book is composed. Of course, we will try to have an overview at the end also on this. Let us offer our prayers to Guru Parampara before we begin this discussion. Om Ajnana-Timirandhasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sa Agrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam. Offering our praise to the six Goswamis. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipunau Sadharma Samsthapakau Lokanam Hitakarinau Tribhuvane Madhyam Sharanyakarau Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyanavritam Anukulyena Krishnano Shilanam Bhaktiruttama Sarvopadhivinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktiruchyate. So in the last discussion we had come up to this the five potent forms. Am I right? And how many had we covered? Any of you can exactly point that out? How many had was covered?
Prabhuji?
Yes.
64 you have covered, Prabhuji.
Yes.
64 limbs.
64 limbs we covered, and then we entered the
Started chapter 13, Prabhuji.
Correct.
Chapter.
And we completed these first two pages of the book.
Yeah, so we have come up to in the five potent forms description.
Yeah, we had.
Yes, so in that we had started,
I think
2 or 3 we have covered already.
Yeah.
That's what exactly I'm asking.
I think the worship of deities was done, Prabhuji.
Worship of deities was over. Okay. So you remember this 5 potent forms, the last 5 of them are together put as this 5 potent forms. So Srila Rupa Goswami gives exclusive description about these 5 potent forms because he first quotes a very important verse on this, which is translated like this. Please read this translation, the power of these 5 principles.
I'll read Prabhuji.
Hey Krishna.
The power of these five principles is very wonderful and difficult to understand.
Mm.
Even without faith in them, a person who is offenseless can awaken his dormant love of Krishna simply by being a little connected with them.
So the power, the potency, the virya of these five angas, panchake, is duruha and adbhuta. It's very difficult to understand. It's wonderful also. And a little contact, sambandha, swalpopi api sambandha, even without faith, shraddha durestu, even that will awaken good intelligence, and specifically it is told awakens bhava. So all other angas of bhakti are wonderful, but these angas have the potency of awakening bhava even by a very a slight contact with them. So it's also mentioned here, a person who is offenseless. That is also added by the Srila Prabhupada in the translation too. So the condition also is that one should be offenseless in his contact or practice of that. So we saw the very interesting way in which the glories of these limbs were told. The first one, that is serving the deity form, is described of how attractive is the form of the Lord, especially that is the form Keshava. Is it not? The word Keshava. Govinda, sorry, the word used is Govinda. Govindakyam Haritanum. So it is told that anyone who sees this form of Govinda at Keshi Tirtha, Keshi Ghat, will forget all his material relationships and be attracted by the wonderful features of this person. The features are told Smeram, the wonderful smile, Bhangi Traya Parichitam, the threefold bend, Sachi Vistirna Drishtim, the crooked vision, which is always bestowing mercy to everyone. Vamshi Nyasta Adhara Kishalayam, how he is holding the flute close to his lips, and Chandrakena Vujvalam, the beautiful moon-like face. So all of them are so attractive to anyone, any jiva, that he will forget all his bandhu sangha. That's the way in which this is told. So do not see, like that Rupa Goswami urges. We saw this in Srila Prabhupada's words. What is the essential instruction here? Do not see Govinda is like that. And if you recollect this, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, who is more attached to the material world, who is want to live with the friends and relatives, they should not go to the Kashi Ghat.
Yeah. So what is Rupa Goswami implying by this verse? Is he telling that do not go to Keshigat? Is that what he means by this?
No, Prabhuji.
What he says?
Like if you are attached to a material world, then you can't see Govinda in this form.
Okay. Okay.
If you see Govinda, you will lose your attachment to your relatives and friends.
So in fact, he is telling, go and see him. You are afflicted by material attachments and you are struggling and trying to find illusory happiness in them. Best is to go and look at this wonderful form, and you will really find that happiness, forgetting all your material attachments like that. So the essential instruction is to go and see like that. And the next one is also, this is here, it is mentioned. What it seems to, it condemns what it seems to praise and praises what it seems to condemn. That's the way it is opposite. That's the way in which Rupa Goswami has put this poetry like that. Of course. The next one talks about power of hearing Bhagavatam. When one hears Bhagavatam, he becomes very disinterested in this dharma, artha, kama. That's why one should not hear. If I think you have heard it, that's why you are becoming disinterested in dharma, artha, kama. Like that, this verse means. Someone please read this. Oh, idiots.
Yes, Prabhuji. Oh, idiots, how unfortunate you are. I think that you must have been hearing all the syllables one by one and of the verses of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam because your ears are now denouncing the most auspicious goals of Dharma, Artha, and Kama, and even decrying the fourth goal of liberation, which is most peaceful.
So one who has read Srimad Bhagavatam, understood it properly, will naturally lose interest in these four Purusharthas because he becomes afflicted by the prema goal for one's life. Prema Purusharth, Prema Pumartho Maha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also told that. So the power of hearing Bhagavatam is it can raise a person from such a low aims of life to the highest, that is Prema. Sanatan Goswami also describes like this in glorification of Bhagavatam in his verses actually. So this is about hearing Bhagavatam. So we had read this also. And had we started Krishna Katha, the glories of, sorry, not Krishna Katha, what was it? The power of association with devotee of Krishna. Had we done this?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, we have not done. Okay, so the first two, the seeing the form of the Lord, that is deity worship, and then second was hearing Bhagavatam was described. So the power of seeing the form of Lord is that one loses all attachment to material relationships. The power of hearing Bhagavatam is one loses interest in Dharma, Artha, Kama, and even Moksha. And starts liking the Prema, pursues the Prema. And the power of association with devotee of Krishna, here it is told that devotee who is so much immersed in love for the Lord. When someone sees such loving emotions in such a person, then seeing that person's amazing emotions, any other person who is seeing him, he loses his material attachment. Can someone read this translation? Ever since I saw Mataji, one who is reading, kindly read.
May I continue?
Yeah.
Mataji.
Read. One who
Shall
is
I read?
continue. Yeah.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Okay. Read, Mataji. Yes.
Ever since I saw a certain person whose body was washed with his own tears,
Yeah.
whose eyes were standing on end, and who stumbled around with a joyous heart, while querying to the extreme, my mind has for some reason become so attached to the form of Krishna that I have no attachment to my family.
So the point is, one who contacts a pure devotee who has these transcendental emotions, he becomes so affected. He also starts to, he also attempts to attain such a love. So Srila Prabhupada, he also translates it like this, that ever since I have seen this personality of Godhead who is washed by the tears of my eyes, that is the devotee's eyes, seeing him, I cannot remain silently at home. I wish to go out to him always, like this. So basically, the association of a devotee can arouse an aspiration to develop loving devotional service. That's the point here. So we can see that in Srila Prabhupada's activities, how people just saw his relentless effort to please Lord Krishna, untiring. Last time I don't remember whether I was describing here or not. A full day of devotional service. Prabhupada is all going on and on and on. He's not, he is so much engaged everywhere for whatever service he's ready. And at the end of the day, he feels that's the best day he had because he could serve Krishna with every bit of his energy. So when one sees such kind of relentless effort, then naturally he starts to feel, wow, this is the state I wish to attain. Many of the Westerners who just saw this kind of love of Prabhupada to Krishna. They did not know who is Krishna, but if this person is having such kind of dedication to Krishna, then that person, Krishna, must be reality. And I should dedicate my life to it. At least I should dedicate my life to this person who is so much in love to Krishna. I should serve. So like this, one can get affected by association of a pure devotee. So Rupa Goswami points to such kind of pure devotees association. Now the next one, you are also able to see on the screen now. This is chapter 13, the paragraph starting from similarly, there is a statement. Can you read the statement, Mataji? One who was reading.
Yes, Prabhuji. Statement about hearing and chanting the Mahamantra. It is said that saints have been able to hear the vibrating strings of Veena in the hands of Narada, who is always singing the glories of Lord Krishna.
Yeah.
Now this same sound vibration has entered my ears, and I am always feeling the presence of the Supreme Personality. Gradually, I am becoming bereft of all attachment for material enjoyment.
I am becoming bereft of all attachment for material enjoyment, and I'm feeling the presence of Supreme Personality by hearing such vibration. So the famous verse is that Gita is there. Narada Muni Vajaya Veena Radhika Ramana Name Nama Mani Udita Hoy Bhakata Gita Gane. So the whole universe was resounding with the chanting of holy names by Narada. He is traveling to every loka and praising the glories of Lord, chanting the Mahamantra and giving the people the amazing fortune to get connected through sound vibration. So just by hearing that, it's mentioned here, I am feeling the presence of Supreme Personality and I am becoming bereft of all attachment for material enjoyment. Srila Prabhupada, in the very beginning days, he wrote a small drama called Narada, the Spaceman. Hayagriva Prabhu, the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada, he recollects this and Prabhupada would dictate and he would write down. And he would later, he was an English professor, Dr. Howard Wheeler, Hayagriva Prabhu. He was the first editor of Srila Prabhupada's manuscripts. So there is one very nice poem he writes on Narada, the spaceman, the celestial spaceman. So he brings and shows to Prabhupada, yes, Narada is our Acharya. He is the Acharya of our preaching movement. So Srila Prabhupada, following the footsteps of Narada, he spread the holy names all around. Yeah. So yeah, can you read this last paragraph? This complete detachment is a symptom of, there is a mention about detachment, no, material detachment. What is that? It's explained here. Can you read the slide's last paragraph?
Yes, Prabhuji. This complete detachment is a symptom of bhava, namely virakti. Srila Rupa Goswami thus shows that Kirtana, one second.
Are you able to see? Kirtana can immediately evoke bhava in a neophyte. So what is told here that one will attain detachment is actually a sign of bhava. We will see that this in the chapter 18. That what are the symptoms of bhava? What are the symptoms of a person who has attained bhava? One of them is virakti. So what it means is when one hears Mahamantra from the mouth of such a sincere, elevated, pure devotee of Lord, then it can evoke bhava in a neophyte. And the symptom of that bhava is virakti, that detachment, like that. So like this, every one of these 5 potent forms, it is leading to bhava, as it was earlier also said. Like earlier we saw about the association of great Vaishnava devotees. Can you read this? Prabhupada himself says this. Associating with advanced devotees.
Associating with advanced devotees. Srila Prabhupada. As soon as one is fortunate to contact a pure devotee, one must be anxious immediately to hear One who associates with advanced devotees will quickly become enriched with symptoms of devotional ecstasy, bhava, such as
Samutkantha.
samutkanta, intense eagerness, and avyakta
Kalatvam.
kalatvam, executing service without a moment wasted. Since seeing him, I can't remain silently at home. I wish to go out to him always. If simply seeing a devotee can bestow such realizations, certainly one will rapidly achieve genuine ecstatic devotion by actually serving a devotee.
So these are all the symptoms of bhava. When it is told, I can't remain silently at home. I am becoming disinterested in dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. I am becoming negligent of my material relationships or not interested in them. These are all the symptoms of bhava. So what it means is every limb actually is generating or it is awakening bhava. That's the point. And that's how it is explained. So what is left? There is one more limb left, no? Holy place, residing at Mathura. So let's read that. Yes, Rupa Goswami has described Mathura Mandala. Read this, Mataji. Again, Sri Rupa Goswami has described.
Prabhuji, I have a question regarding bhava.
Correct. Tell me.
I have a question like even at the neophyte stage, people feel detachment or virakti, but that cannot be bhava. Is it still considered as bhava?
So that in to attain bhava, there are very specified ways. One of them is when one attains through Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and he develops an attachment to a liberated pure devotee of Lord, and he follows that person, that is Raganuga Sadhana, and then he attains bhava. There is another path to attain bhava, which actually these all paths will be described in the chapter number 70. Okay, it is going to come. That is like this, you know. Actually, it is called as kripa. It is a symbol of mercy. The technical term for it and all will come there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kindly read this, Mataji, description of
Yes.
Mathura Mandala.
Again, Srila Rupa Goswami has described Mathura Mandala. I remember the Lord standing by the banks of the Yamuna river, so beautiful, amid the Kadamba trees, where many birds are chirping in the gardens. And these impressions are always giving me transcendental realization of beauty and bliss. This feeling about Madhura Mandala and Vrindavana, described by Rupa Goswami, can actually be felt even by non-devotees. The places in the 168 square mile district of Mathura are so beautifully situated on the banks of the river Yamuna that anyone who goes there will never want to return to this material world.
So Prabhupada also writes these statements by Rupa Goswami are factually realized descriptions of Mathura and Vrindavan. They are the vision from the highly realized state. All these qualities prove that Mathura and Vrindavan are situated transcendentally. So what is told here, a person gets a realization, transcendental realization of beauty and bliss. And this is also a feature of bhava. Let us see that. Yeah, this we had read, right? I remember Lord standing on him. Gives me transcendental realization, beauty. Can you read this second paragraph? According to Jiva Goswami.
According to Jiva Goswami, transcendental realization of beauty and bliss, manasi
kamapi bhavam kanam shrishtanoti
indicates the mental realization of the one's eternal serving mood.
Swarupa Siddhi.
Swarupa Siddhi, which occurs during the stage of Bhava Bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami thus shows that simply remembering Vrindavana can quickly evoke devotional ecstasy, Bhava, even in a neophyte. Srila Prabhupada says such transcendental feelings are aroused immediately and without fail after one arrives in Mathura or Vrindavana.
So, like this, the point about this transcendental realization of beauty and bliss is actually indicative of attainment of bhava. That's how it is mentioned. Okay. So, basically, all these five angas, the last angas, they are very, very potent. See, Srila Prabhupada, in his amazing formation of this ISKCON movement, in the amazing form of his mercy, he has made so much facility for practicing these 5 limbs. In fact, all of the 64 limbs, most of them can be easily practiced in Srila Prabhupada's temples, ISKCON temples, or in the places where Srila Prabhupada's teachings are followed. It could be the centers, it could be the homes, any place. But the beauty, especially of these 5 angas, if we have to talk, Prabhupada instituted as part of the very system, the daily routine only. That every day in the morning one goes to see the deities, one chants the holy name, one associates with the devotees, one hears the Bhagavatam, and as much as possible he visits the temple and renders service to the deities at the temple. So all these 5 angas, they are very amazingly arranged in the lifestyle or the daily routine by Srila Prabhupada. Actually, we should be mindful of how much and how to what quality I am able to practice them, and try to take inventory of what is my quality of the practice of these 5. Right? If we can't look at several things in devotional service, if we can only look at these 5 limbs, only focus on them, it is so potent, and it carries us so far in spiritual path, so much in spiritual progress. So Prabhupada says, in these statements, it may appear, can you read this? Overestimation. Read this.
In these statements about devotional service, sometimes it may appear that the results have been overestimated, but actually there is no overestimation. Some devotees, as revealed scriptures give evidence, have had immediate results by such association, although this is not possible for all.
So one
For
should,
example,
yeah. Continue.
For example, the Kumaras immediately became devotees simply by smelling the incense in the temple. Bilvamangala Thakura simply heard about Krishna and then immediately gave up his beautiful girlfriend and started out for Mathura and Vrindavana, where he became a perfect Vaishnava.
So these statements are not overestimations, nor are they stories, they are actual facts, but are true for certain devotees and do not necessarily apply to all. What it means here is that actually these limbs are so potent. They can become the channels for mercy of Lord to unimaginable extent. Like this Kumaras, it is told that how could they attain this attraction to Lord? Because they came and associated with those devotees, they saw the beautiful form of the Lord, and of course they smelt the tulasi, the incense in the temple. That became the way to their transformation. Similarly, Bilvamangala. So they are actual facts. So as we had earlier also seen in description of are the promises given or are the results stated of practicing these limbs, are they exaggerations or not? No, they are not exaggerations. They are not overestimations. They are factual. But it requires an attitude to attain or to tap that potency. As it was mentioned, offenseless, inoffensive. There was a word like that there. So that is necessary. So Prabhupada points that out. So some people, okay, from here the description changes. Let me show one more slide. Yeah, so Srila Rupa Goswami explains these are not overestimations, they are true. In certain cases and are intended to describe the item's potential for evoking bhava bhakti when executed, especially it's mentioned offenselessly. So Rupa Goswami also points out this point that sometimes it is told that by performing bhakti one will get material well-being. Even if one has material desire, is encouraged to do bhakti, he will get all his desires fulfilled. What is the import there? Actually, the import is to make that person become faithful to devotional service. Once he becomes faithful, the result, actual result assured for such a person is bhava. It is that which the devotional service wants to give to the practitioner. So the so-called promises, the promises of material prosperity and all, they are not the actual attainments or the intents of practicing. The actual intent which the Lord wants to give, the Bhakti Devi wants to give is bhava, which is a precursor to prema. This is how Rupa Goswami mentions. Now, very important point is coming here from here onwards, that we saw 64 limbs. Among them, we saw the last 5 limbs to be most potent, and description of their glories also was. Now, some limbs, some practices that is usually considered as spiritual, as also devotional, and people by default assume this is bhakti. And there might be a question that how could they not be described by Rupa Goswami till now? They should have been described. For example, Varnashrama. It is told that the practice of Varnashrama ultimately pleases Lord Vishnu. Have you heard this statement? There is one very nice statement in Padma Purana, which says that Varnashrama acharavata purushena parah puman Vishnuraradhyate punsam nanya tattosha karana. The goal of Varnashrama is to please Krishna. So Varnashrama should have been there. Or the practice of Jnana or Vairagya, that should have been there. Or some cultivation of good qualities, being kind, being non-violent, developing detachment. These are all very, very spiritual. So they should have been there. Are they not the limbs? Why are they not put so far by Rupa Goswami? So someone may get a doubt on this, for which now Rupa Goswami clarifies what are not the limbs of bhakti. Usually these are considered, these should have been the limbs. Can you read this? Rupa Goswami has now completed.
Hare Krishna, can I read, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu can read. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Rupa Goswami has completed listening the 64...
listing.
Sorry, listing the 64 ways of practice pure devotional services. Naturally, questions will arise about why certain other types of spiritual practices were not included in this list.
So the 4 of them are described by Rupa Goswami. Yeah. The first gets described in this chapter.
Varnashrama dharma and jnana and vairagya, knowledge and renunciation, service executed through wealth and followers, cultivation of saintly qualities.
So these 4 are specifically addressed by Rupa Goswami. So chapter 3, 13, there is little more in this chapter. It talks about Varnashrama dharma. Why it is not included in the 64 practices or limbs of sadhana bhakti. And the next chapter describes the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Let's see that. Some scholars argue. Yes.
Some scholars argue that simply by following the principles of Varna and Ashrama, one can gradually raise to help raise the perfection reached by practicing devotional service. But this argument is not accepted by the great authorities. Lord Chaitanya also condemned this idea while he was talking with Ramananda Raya about the gradual development of devotional service.
So there is a very important conversation in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This happens on the banks of that river, Krishna, Godavari, Rajamandri. So there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai are talking. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically asks about sadhya, the goal of one's spiritual practice. Sadhya. What should be the goal? So he's asking in the beginning, there are many things which Ramananda Rai mentions. One of them was varnash, the perfection in doing one's duties, varnash. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no, this is not sadhya. This is not sadhana or sadhya. This cannot be, because this only is related to this world and to one's own nature. Okay, one actually spiritualizes it by offering one's duties, the fruits of one's activities to Krishna. But where is the intent to offer Krishna directly here? So in the description of ninefold devotional activities by Prahlada Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam, and the shloka says Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Swaranam, you may remember. So he says at the end, there is a verse, Iti pumsarpita Vishnu bhaktischain navalakshana kriyeta bhagavati adha. He says there that these 9 lakshanas are devotional service. Those 9 actually are expanded by Rupa Goswami into 64. Okay. So these 64 or those 9 are devotional service, direct devotional service. They are called devotional service because they are done directly for the pleasure of Lord. Kriyeta Bhagavati Adha. So Rupa Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this aspect of karmarpana, which is doing one's duties for offering the results of the duties to Krishna, actually it is not it is not done as a direct service. It is actually considered secondary, because one chooses one's duties based on one's nature, and then one offers the results of those duties to Krishna. It is not like one decides to serve Krishna and then chooses the activities for pleasing Krishna. No. There are 2 approaches. I again say this. One decides on activities, what he wants to do, and then offer the results of those activities to Krishna. This is karmarpana. But bhakti is one decides to please Krishna. One concludes that I want to please Krishna, and then comes down to what activities I should do to please Krishna. There is a difference here. If I have to break down a little more, like today I want to eat pizza. I will offer to Krishna, and then that becomes pizza prasad. That is one scenario. Nice. That's wonderful. The second scenario is, oh, today is a holy day. I have to cook for the pleasure of deities. Right? On this day, in this season, what are the items which are to be cooked for the pleasure of deities? Okay, now let me decide what to cook in this particular time and season of the year. What are those wonderful ingredients I can make for the pleasure of Lord? So like this. So there is difference between the 2 scenarios. What is the difference? Can someone point this out? Hare Krishna.
The difference is, Prabhuji, that that one is that you want to do something for yourself, but you bring Krishna in that. And other thing is that you only think about Krishna and you do things for Krishna only. And then you, yeah. So one is like whatever is there in your consciousness, you bring Krishna into it. And whatever, or you take your consciousness to Krishna.
Yeah. So the first type is actually technically called Aropa Siddha Bhakti.
Hare Krishna.
Arop. Have you heard this word? Arop karna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Blame karna.
Yeah, arop karna. You want to do something, you do a label of
किसी के नाम पे प्रभु.
Right.
Okay, this is told by Jiva Goswami like this. Aropa Siddha Bhakti. See, this is surely bhakti. It's not told that it's not bhakti, but it is. We should know when we are talking about the science of bhakti, we should know what is the position of each of these practices. So, Rupa Goswami is so clear in presenting this. So, he says, this cannot be included in 64 limbs. So, there is something more here. Let us read this. I have not highlighted, Prabhu. Can you read this? He rejected the idea. Continue.
He rejected the idea of the importance of Varnashrama Dharma when it was put forward by Ramananda Raya. He said that this advancement of Varna and Ashrama is merely external. There is a higher principle in Bhagavad Gita. Also, the Lord says that one has to give up all other principle of elevation and take simply to the method of Krishna consciousness. That will help one in achieving the highest performance of life, perfection
of life. Yeah. So it is external, and that's why Bhagavad Gita also says actually one can approach Krishna through these Varnashrama duties, but Krishna stands transcendental to these Varnashrama duties. He is far above this. So one should not tie down bhakti to these Varnashrama duties. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the description of devotional service, of how it is above knowledge and detachment, Lord Krishna himself speaks to Uddhava. There is a very wonderful section in Bhagavatam called Uddhava Gita. So Srila Prabhupada quotes from there. One should execute prescribed duties of Varna and Ashrama as long as he has not developed spontaneous attachment for hearing about my pastimes and activities. So the Varnashrama practice is like a way to live in this world, and one should live like that until one receives the fortune of spontaneous attachment to Lord Krishna. When one receives that, then he actually is in that realm, in that platform. So in other words, Prabhupada mentions it. Read this, Prabhu, the prescribed forms of Varna and Ashrama.
Prabhu.
In other words?
In other words, the prescribed form of Varna and Ashrama are ritualistic ceremonies of religion intended for economic development, sense gratification, or salvation. All of these things are recommended for a persons who have not developed Krishna consciousness. In fact, all such activities are recommended in the revealed scriptures only to bring one to the point of Krishna consciousness.
You may remember we had one discussion of how the Anya, what is it? Jnana Karma Adi Anavratam. Adi, in the description of pure devotional service, Shloka Anya Bhilashika. The Adi refers to all this, Vairagya, Jnana, Varnashrama. They should not cover the bhakti. That's the description there actually. So we had seen there with pictorially of how Varnashrama Dharma is like is the general practice, the general lifestyle of people who are civilized. But the essence of it, the center of it is, the core is devotional service. If one is not able to position himself in the activities of devotional service, then he's told at least be situated in Varnashrama Dharma and follow them. Don't fall into sin and activities against the injunctions of Lord as in scriptures. So that is like a circle outside it. But we should know that if one is practicing Varnashrama Dharma, the goal is to attain Krishna consciousness. If one misses that goal, the scriptures tell heavily about it. Shrama eva hi kevalam, or sthula tushavaghatinam. Like in Brahma's prayers to Krishna after Brahma Vimohan Lila, it is told that if one forgets the goal of Varnashrama and Jnana as bhakti, then it is like beating an empty husk of rice. Like paddy has a husk on top of it, is it? The inside part is rice. The rice is taken off, so what is left out is the husk, the covering. And one is beating that husk thinking, now I will get the grain inside, the rice inside. What it will give? It will only give body pain. It will not give anything. Sthula tusha avaghatinam. Brahma says, so one should not make this mistake of forgetting the core or essence and practicing only the externals. So Rupa Goswami has put it very, very clearly that how bhakti is not dependent or decided by Varnashrama duties. At the same time, Varnashrama duties, they are very supportive. They are not part of bhakti, but they are supportive. As we saw, it actually is a lifestyle which is very conducive for bhakti. That itself is not bhakti. It is like support or conducive for bhakti. Can you read this parts also, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Varnashrama Dharma, not an integrated part.
Varnashrama Dharma, not an integrated part of sadhana. Varnashrama Dharma is a system for a regulated satisfaction of one's material desire. Bhakti, on the other hand, is anyabhilashita sunyam, complete freedom from personal desire. Therefore, Varnashrama Dharma is not a part of sadhana bhakti.
Very clear. Varnashrama Dharma is not a part of sadhana bhakti. At the same time, Varnashrama can support bhakti. Can you read this also? A devotee who is not yet able to.
A devotee who is not yet able to perform unalloyed devotion services may utilize Varnashrama Dharma to regulate and purify
it himself from distracting material
desire, and thus rise to the point of being attracted to unalloyed service.
So if one has not developed an attainment or attraction to Krishna, devotional service, then Varnashrama Dharma, till then one can keep continuing. That's in fact is a general practice, general way of life. So it is also told another place, one should execute the duties of Varna and Ashrama as long as he has not developed spontaneous attachment. This we just now read also. And that's why it is told it is not an integral part, but it can support cultivation of bhakti in its precursor stages, in its beginning stages.
Prabhuji?
Yes.
I remember you showing us a slide that one of the unfulfilled desire of Prabhupada was to establish the Varna Ashrama thing.
Correct.
There was one slide I remember.
Yes.
So what was that slide about, Prabhuji?
That was about, Prabhupada told that I had a desire to establish Varnashrama for a sustained practice of devotees for, for their life, devotional service. So he told 2-3 reasons there. I remember quoting them. One was to live a sin-free occupation or lifestyle. Another is also as a way to accommodate people who may not have yet purified in their desires. Another is also as a way to include the Vedic followers in the realm of becoming favorable to bhakti as a way of preaching. So Prabhupada told these 2-3 reasons. Do you want to see that? I have to long back and so.
Yes, Prabhuji.
I think that was way long back we did it.
Yeah, I think 4 or 5 classes back. It's
Oh,
okay, Prabhuji. If it is time consuming, later we can.
So we will see that at the end, because let's complete this discussion on chapter 14. We will enter now actually. Okay. So Varnashrama, Jnana, Vairagya, all this, they are some things which aid bhakti, but they are not in themselves bhakti. So Prabhupada actually explains them in chapter 14. So we are entering chapter 14. So chapter 13 does conclude. So chapter 13 is the potency of those 5 limbs, and how one of those supportive items, but not integral items of bhakti, that is Varnashrama. And furthermore are described in the chapter. The chapter 14 describes about Jnana and Vairagya, knowledge and renunciation. They are something which are also similar to Varnashrama. They are supportive, but not integral. They are helpful, but they are not in themselves. Someone else would like to take the reading here. Actually, the cultivation of, maybe from here begin, some scholars. Read here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. May I read?
Yes, Prabhu, read. Some scholars recommend.
Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. But actually, that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire of such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity.
See, this the point came here. So, Jnana and Vairagya in themselves cannot be called bhakti. They may be a way to reach to bhakti, but you can't bind someone to this path only, that one has to go through knowledge and renunciation, then only attain bhakti. No. Prabhupada will explain that further. What is required is a desire to serve, a sentiment or desire, or little sincere intent towards attraction towards Krishna or devotee, like that. So Prabhupada further says, it's the opinion of expert devotees. So Rupa Goswami clearly puts it here. It's the opinion of expert devotees. What is the problem with this Jnana and Vairagya? They look, they are so spiritual. What is wrong? They are like the limbs of Jnana Yoga. Before Bhakti Yoga, there is Dhyana. Before that, there is Jnana Yoga, right? In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied this. So is that not a part of the path to Bhakti Yoga? So why not accept them? No. There is a difference in attaining Jnana and Vairagya without Bhakti. See, Bhakti in itself gives Jnana and Vairagya. That's the most safe way to develop Jnana and Vairagya. Why? Because if one doesn't have Bhakti and just cultivates Jnana and Vairagya, what it will breed? It will make one's heart harder. And that's not favorable for Bhakti.
How Prabhuji?
Oh, just like a person, he starts to see the material. He is actually seeing the relationships. He is actually seeing the many activities as entangling in this world. That's the way, one develops Jnana and Vairagya. He develops detachment. It's so troublesome. So this is their practice. They see it like this. So this kind of thinking, it actually gets carried on even when one starts practicing bhakti. And when one sees the forms of Lord, the forms of great devotees, he has this, a lag. He has this. So this actually takes a lot of time to get over it. So because one's heart becomes harder, one may even commit some offenses. So Prabhupada will explain that.
Prabhuji, I have heard a lot of conventional Bhagavad speakers who personifies Bhakti as a Bhakti Devi and Gyan and Vairag as their
Are their sons.
So
So
it's
what does that mean?
Yeah, does it mean that from Bhakti only Gyan and Vairag will come?
Yeah.
But they always say that Bhakti Devi is young and Gyan and Vairag, the two sons, are very old.
Yeah. That has become at a certain time. That's the time of Kali Yuga. This description comes in the Bhagavat Mahatmya, I think in Padma Purana, where Bhakti Devi is crying with her two children who have become very old.
Yes.
And that's when Narada Muni
Narada
comes
Muni
and
comes.
talks, it's a Bhagavat Mahatmya. Basically, it has an indication of how everything in this world has depleted. So what is it that makes rejuvenation? Is the path which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given, the Sankirtana, and that lifestyle of Sankirtana, that is the Yuga Dharma. And the Bhagavatam actually that awakens, that revitalizes bhakti, in fact. So bhakti is powerful, but because of influence of time, because of disqualification of people, due to which this jnana and vairagya and bhakti have become very, very rare. But this Bhagavatam and Sankirtana, they are so potent that even in this fallen age, they can awaken bhakti. That's the intent there. Okay. So that story says like that. So one can see there that bhakti is one who gives birth to knowledge and detachment.
Renunciation.
Can you read this, Prabhu? It is the opinion of expert devotees.
It is the opinion of expert devotees that mental speculation and the artificial austerities of yoga practice may be favorable for becoming liberated from material contamination, but they will also make one's heart harder and harder. They will not help at all in the progress of devotional service.
Continue reading without.
Those processes are therefore not favorable for entering into transcendental loving service of the Lord. Actually, Krishna consciousness, devotional service itself, is the only way of advancing in devotional life. Devotional service is absolute. It is both the cause and the effect.
See, in bhakti, the vairagya is like accepting what is favorable and rejecting what is unfavorable. It is like that. This is called as yukta vairagya. Very soon you will get that definition. Rupa Goswami's wonderful concept introduces of yukta vairagya. So the vairagya which bhaktas follow is always with the view of how it can help them in bhakti. It can favor their bhakti, like that. So Prabhupada explains that further, quoting from statements from Uddhava Gita. So Uddhava Gita, about this jnana and vairagya, there is a statement. Can you read? My dear Uddhava.
My dear Uddhava, for persons who are seriously engaged in my service, the cultivation of physiological speculation and artificial renunciation are not very favorable. When a person becomes my devotee, he automatically attains the fruits of renunciation of material enjoyment, and he gets sufficient knowledge to understand the absolute truth.
So you can see this in Bhagavad Gita, many times this is mentioned. Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yad punya phala pradishtam. 8th chapter, last verse. Krishna says, all that which Vedic study promises, Vedeshu, all that which sacrifices promise, yajneshu, tapassu, all that which austerities promise, punya phala pradishtam, all that is given by my bhakti. And in fact, bhakti gives something which excels all other paths. Atyeti tatsarvam idam viditva. Yogi param dhyanam upaiti chatyam. 8th chapter talks about how all other paths, fruits are given by bhakti alone in Krishna's words. So that's explained more wonderfully in this verse by in Uddhava Gita. One more verse in that same sequence. Can you read this? My dear friend, the prophets.
My dear friend, the prophets derived from fruitive activities, austerities, the culture of philosophical knowledge, renunciation, the practice of mystic yoga, charity, and all similar auspicious activities are automatically achieved by my devotees, those who are simply attached to me by loving service.
But very interesting. These devotees, continue reading, have everything. Read this ahead. These devotees
have everything at their disposal, but they desire nothing outside of my devotional service. If ever a devotee should desire some material profit, like promotion to the heavenly planets or some spiritual profit to go to Vaikunthas, by my causeless mercy, his desires are very easily fulfilled.
So my devotees, in their attitude of service, if they at all desire something, that is given in my bhakti itself. They don't need to take up any other practice than pleasing. So Krishna, he is assuring this very clearly to in Bhagavad Gita also, and here also very clearly you can see. So devotional service can award the result of detachment without making heart harder or without those all defects, which that kind of path of detachment can give. So how is that so? That is the wonderful concept of Yukta Vairagya. Can you read this? Actually, a person who is
developing Krishna consciousness and still has some attachment to material enjoyment will soon be freed from such a tendency by regularly discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master. Sri Rup Goswami then recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment, but should accept everything enjoyable which is in relationship to Krishna.
So one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment, but should accept everything by which you can please Krishna. So this is what he terms as Yukta Vairagya. And this is one of the very important verses you all also have to memorize. What it says, Anasaktasya Vishayan, without attachment to senses for one's selfish pleasure. No attachment to sense objects. Yatha arham upayunjataha, according to one's arhata, one's qualification, one engages those vishaya in what? Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe, in activities which are in relationship with Krishna. So one engages the Vishaya according to one's arhata, qualification, in service of Krishna. And that is called Yukta Vairagya. Already Anasaktasya Vishayan is told, no attachment for one's own happiness or material happiness. No, very clearly. So let us recite this verse. This verse is important. Anasaktasya Vishayan.
Anasaktasya
Vishayan.
Yatharham upayunjataha.
Yatharham upayunjataha.
Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe.
Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe.
Yuktam Vairagyamuchyate. So Yukta aspect is to see in connection with Krishna. And Vairagya aspect is to show that there is no attachment for oneself, attachment for self pleasures or like that. Such thing is called Yukta Vairagya. And that will actually give all that which other path, otherwise the Vairagya path will give. Can you read this again? When one is not attached.
When one is not attached to anything. but at the same time accepts anything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness.
Above possessiveness. So Prabhupada, this translation is also given at many places actually. Chaitanya Charitamrita also comes. So Prabhupada describes this Yukta Vairagya in more practical terms. For example, eating is necessary. At the same time, what is important criteria is satisfaction of Krishna than satisfaction of our own tongue. So then it is renunciation, because we are engaging in those activities with first criteria of satisfaction of Krishna. Okay, that also satisfies us. That is something as a mercy of Krishna. But our first criteria to decide any activity or any engagement in this world is satisfaction of Krishna. So Prabhupada says, let the palatable dishes be prepared, but unless they are offered to Krishna, one should not accept them for eating. Continue reading. This vow of rejecting anything.
This vow of rejecting anything which is not offered to Krishna is actually renunciation. And by such renunciation, one is able to satisfy the demands of senses.
So that renunciation, it also, gives solace to the senses. At the same time, one becomes very firmly situated in Krishna consciousness. His heart is not becoming harder, and at the same time, he is not plunging himself into material engagements. On the other side, the Vairagya which other people follow, the Vairagya path, the Gnana Yoga path, they see everything as material, as something which can bind them in this world. Due to that fear, they will not engage anything in this world, with anything in this world. Prabhupada describes that. Can you read? Impersonalists who try to avoid.
The impersonalists who try to avoid everything material may undergo severe austerities, but they miss the opportunity of being engaged in the service of the Lord. Thus, their renunciation is not sufficient for perfection. There are many instances where, following such artificial renunciation without any contact with devotional service, the impersonalist again fell down and became attracted to material contamination.
So, this is also an important concept to understand. It's called Falgu Vairagya. Falgu means false renunciation. It is renunciation seen in external actions, but actually it has it is falsely directed. The motive there is false. It is not sustainable. It is wrong. What is it? So the description says prapanchikataya buddhya. So seeing that everything in this world is prapanchik, coming from prapancha word, with this understanding, not with an understanding of how things are related to Hari sambandhi vastunaha. They don't see it like this. In fact, if there is something related to Hari also, if it is of this world, they think, no, this we will not accept. What they will do? They will do parityag of it. They will renounce it. Most of the people who seek liberation, moksha kamis, mumukshus, they take this kind of disposition. Anything, be it even connected to Hari in this world, is to be renounced. So they lose a very, very precious opportunity to see how everything is owned by Krishna and should be used for Krishna. An opportunity for that they'll lose. Can you read this translation? On the other hand,
one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete as his renunciation.
It's incomplete renunciation. Prabhupada also terms it as another place, inferior here, or false renunciation. So this is also an important verse to remember. Kindly repeat. Prapanchikataya buddhya.
Prapanchikataya buddhya.
Hari sambandhi vastunaha.
Hari sambandhi vastunaha.
Mumukshubhi parityago.
Mumukshubhi parityago.
Vairagyam falgu kathyate.
वैराग्यं खलु कथ्यते.
So today we saw these two verses, and earlier we already seen two verses. I think this completes the verses of memorization for Nectar of Devotion. So these four verses are very much quoted by Prabhupada from Nectar of Devotion, so we should know them.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
Prabhuji, there's some time back there was a news that there was a some Jain Gujarati couple. They have given up every material thing and they were taking the renunciation under the whatever Jain thing, religious principles, and they were going or doing some yatra kind of a thing on an
Correct.
open car,
I
and they
heard
were
that.
throwing all their money in the public, like 200 crores.
Acha.
So what kind of renunciation is that, Prabhuji? Like,
Yeah, it means the whole that path itself, the path which you are mentioning, is technically atheism, because they don't accept Vedas. And the goal is abnegation, self-abnegation, developing detachment by self-torture, and getting rid of all material relationships.
So rather
seeing
than
them as
using that
false.
200 crores in the service of the Lord.
Yeah. Prabhupada was once shown a newspaper cutout of where Mayavadi Guru, who is being offered a lot of money, but he was holding like this, that I don't touch money, as if to show to people that how I am not interested in anything material. Prabhupada told, Are, bring money and take a photo. I will be embracing that money for service. So Prabhupada was showing, see, the most possible, in fact, most powerful instruction is to show people how to engage everything in service of Krishna. That's most practical also, and that's most powerful also. That's path of bhakti. At the same time, very important to note there is not anasaktasya vishaya, not for one's own pleasure, very clearly for serving Krishna. The Goswamis who had great wealth, they left that wealth because they were seeking shelter of Chaitanya. Okay, and they were very solely dedicated for pleasure of Chaitanya. And this person, Sri Rupa Goswami, who is writing this, he is practically living like a mendicant, one day in under one tree, like that. And he is listing this principle. They're practically sannyasis, actually. Yes. You also may remember that famous incident of someone comes to Sanatana Goswami seeking some wealth, touchstone. Then Sanatana Goswami says, "You want touchstone? It's there in the place where I put garbage. Go and take it." Have you heard this? Any of you have heard this?
I think either you told us or Gauranga Darshan Das Prabhuji.
It's a very famous. Prabhupada tells this. Another place. In fact, it is told in Kunti Maharani's sections, Bhagavatam purports. It's there. So Prabhupada tells this, and then he says, Sanatana Goswami told that merchant, go and take it from dustbin there. So he becomes very happy to take that touchstone, which can produce gold. And then after picking it up and trying it out himself, that how it is giving wealth, he gets a doubt. Why such a great sage? He has put this in dustbin. That means he surely must have a higher wealth. So you see, these Goswamis, those who are writing this principle of Yukta Vairagya, are personally so renounced. So he, of course, when that person comes back, gives him the wealth of Harinam, holy name of Krishna. And of course, the Katha continues there, the incident of how he fails to see Harikatha as so great wealth being chanted by everyone. At later point, Sanatana Goswami teaches how holy name, though it is chanted by everyone, but people don't know how to unlock the greatest wealth by chanting.
Hare Krishna.
So that incident shows that this Goswamis, they could have used that wealth, that touchstone for building temples. And that was an instruction given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is it not? But they did not. They were setting this example. It is important to first understand how this world is also very binding. If we have to engage things in service of Krishna, we should also have this realization that how that thing is actually owned by Krishna. This Yukta Vairagya principle should not be used as a concession or as a leeway for engaging in the world and getting into illusion. Oh Prabhu, this is Yukta Vairagya, let's use it. And in the course of using it, we actually become polluted in our consciousness. So that should not happen. That's why whenever one has to engage things in service of Krishna, he has to very honestly see whether one is qualified. If one is not able to understand it, better go and approach some guide, some if possible, guru. One is there. So that's why one Prabhupada writes it. Earlier also he explained that. I think this point came in one of the paragraph here, little above that. Yeah, you see, regularly discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम। प्रभु आपने अभी जैसा बोला, ये जो भी जैन या ये कम्युनिटी हैं जो ये सर्विसेज करते हैं, अभी जो डिस्कशन आया, तो वो किसी जगह में नहीं पहुंचेंगे जो कर रहे हैं।
They may get some punya connected to the world, but they will not get devotional credit to enter kingdom of God surely. They are not accepting Vedic path only, first of all. The word of
वो फास्टिंग वगैरह करते हैं प्रभु जी, उनका क्या नाम है, जैन कम्युनिटी, जिनेंद्र, जय जिनेंद्र करके, मैं उनके साथ काम किया हूँ। तो आई वॉज जस्ट वंडरिंग कि उनका जो ऑस्टेरिटी, मैं कंपेयर नहीं कर रहा हूँ प्रभु, बट सबका अपना अपना प्रैक्टिस है, बट दो दे आर वेरी बहुत ही पीक्स में लेके जाते हैं प्रभु जब प्रैक्टिस उनका होता है। तो it's not about the money, the way they train themselves to reach, I don't know.
See, we are not telling that it is wrong in the sense of it is like a condemned activity. No, the point is, what is the motive? What is the pramana? The vairagya which is told in bhakti is the criteria is it anukula for bhakti or not? And this kind of a vision towards the things of this world, relationships of the world, is very, very important. And that will not make heart. At the same time, it will breed detachment very naturally. One will only be looking for pleasure of Krishna.
फिर ऐसा बोल सकते हैं प्रभु, वो सिर्फ परंपरा।
Those people who are doing that, Prabhu, it is coming a little later. I understand. We empathize, in the sense, surely we hold them respectful. We are not telling that they should be treated wrongly or they should be no, that's not the intent. But we are seeing here the signs. So we should know what is where. First of all, as I mentioned, they don't accept Vedas. Like Buddha. That's why they are called Nastikas. First thing. Secondly, they are pursuing some austerity, some kind of developing detachment from this world. But if you see the way in which those paths came, it came because people imitated the activities of one of the avatars of the Lord called Rishabhadev. Read Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 6th chapter. Srila Prabhupada writes very elaborately about how Jainism started. A king He imitated the activities of Rishabhadev, who was in a very advanced stage of yoga. He was exhibiting Paramahamsya ashrama. He was like an avadhuta, and a king who saw this practice and he was so affected. Wow, this is so spiritual, transcendental. This person is so oblivious to the world, and he has developed such siddhis also. I should also do what he's doing. And he imitated that. So Prabhupada describes there. I suggest you kindly read that 5th canto, 6th chapter, the second half of it. Wonderful. It's a small chapter. You will get all this very, very clearly from Prabhupada's words. Okay. So such kind of imitation, without understanding the tattva and without understanding one's qualification also to practice, it will be actually from the spiritual vision and not the right action.
So they are just following the blindly. They are following the parampara. That's it.
They have some parampara which was started after that king. His name is Arhat. That king. From after that king, so many Tirthankaras have come there. They have their parampara. We're not saying like that. But how it originally started, it was an imitation.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
they, because of this practice of these noble qualities, they will get some very high credits, punya. But surely, according to the opinion of Bhagavatam, it will not lead to freedom from the karmic bondage.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So please read that chapter. I think that will be better.
Sure.
So Prabhupada here is talking about artificial renunciation, Falgu Vairagya. So there are many supposed renouncers. So Prabhupada now talks about so many Vairagis who are practicing Vairagya without bhakti. Note this, Vairagya without bhakti. Actually, what it led to, people renounced the world with the vision of knowledge, but they could not sustain in that path. They again came to this world. Prabhupada writes here, there are many examples. Can you read this last statement, Prabhu?
May I read, Prabhu?
Yes, there are many examples.
There are many examples of so-called sannyasis who gave up the world as untruth, but again came to the material world because they were not seeking their real repose at the lotus feet of the Lord.
What they left, they again came and engaged in. So that shows that they could not stay on that path. So knowledge cannot bring renunciation completely. What actually sustains renunciation is bhakti. Can you read ahead? One should not give up anything.
One should not give up anything which can be utilized in the service of the Lord. That is the secret of devotional service. Anything that can be utilized in advancing Krishna consciousness and devotional service should be accepted.
So Srila Prabhupada was very revolutionary in exhibiting this. See, he used to say, I went with 40 rupees and though I could build temples worth crores, I still don't own anything. Right? He used everything for preaching and pleasure of Krishna and his Guru. Like it's mentioned here, typewriters, dictating machines, microphones, airplanes. Prabhupada used so much, but for what? Because he had that vision, he could use and yet be unaffected. Prabhupada says, sometimes people ask us, can you read this, Prabhu?
Yeah, sometimes people ask us, why are you utilizing material products if you condemn the advancement of material civilization? But actually, we do not condemn. We simply ask people to do whatever they are doing in Krishna consciousness.
See, Krishna consciousness says this world is truth, not false. All other paths, they don't understand this. But Vaishnavism talks, this world is satyam, but temporary. Other paths say this world is mithya. And that's why they say one should reject this world. See this? So when we say, when we read in our scriptures that Vishwam Satyam, Madhvacharya told, Bhakti Vinod Thakur stressed it. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told it. It's there in the Bhagavatam too, many places. You can all refer to this very important chapter in Bhagavatam, first canto, 5th chapter, Narada's instructions to Vyasadeva. The seed to Bhagavatam is there. So there he says, this world is coming from the Supreme Lord. It is truth. But it is different from spiritual truth because it is temporary. Otherwise, how could someone do some devotional activities or some spiritual path in this world of temporality and gain eternal truth? How is it possible? Is it not? So sometimes we see in Bhagavatam, it is compared to dream. What it means? It is like a dream in the sense that it is temporary. That aspect is shown. At the same time, dream is illusion. It's false. No, that is not the intention. Okay, this world is truth. It is temporary. So knowing that this world is truth and it is coming from Lord, seeing this relationship, one uses that in service of Lord. That's its perfect utility. So we do not condemn. Prabhupada says here, actually we do not condemn. We ask people, whatever they are doing, do it in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada tells, at last, our vision is that. Can you read?
Yeah. Our vision is that Krishna is everything. Krishna is the cause and effect, and nothing belongs to us. Krishna's things must be used in the service of Krishna. That is our vision.
At the same time, who can use it? So Prabhupada points that out here. This does not mean, read it fully, this does not
mean, however, that we should give up the principles of discharging devotional service or neglect abiding by the rules and regulations prescribed therein. In the neophyte stage of devotion, one must follow all the principles regulated by the authority of the spiritual master. The acceptance and rejection of things should always be in pursuance of the devotional principles. Not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. The spiritual master as the visible manifestation of Krishna is necessary, therefore, to direct the devotee on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So, when we say we want to use something in this world, of this world, for the pleasure of Krishna, for the purpose of reaching the message of Krishna, preaching, there are so many novel ideas nowadays, is it not? And that's wonderful. Who could have imagined like this we would sit and talk nectar of devotion few years before? At least I was not. But it has become a utility, and that is told by the spiritual masters and told, yeah, this is a way to reach out Krishna consciousness and associate with devotees. So we are all reaping the result, is it not? So one should always not become independent in following this principle of Yukta Vairagya, but always pursue it under the shelter, under the guidance of spiritual master, counselor, or whatever guidance you have available, like that. So that was the principle of Jnana and Vairagya. Remember this? We are seeing these principles. 4 of them were there. Let's see that again.
Varna,
Ashrama, Dharma. Yes, that was the
Jnana, Vairagya.
Jnana and Vairagya. Okay, these 2 we completed. So the next 2 are coming ahead. Okay, let's see that. Can you read this? Spiritual master must never be carried.
The spiritual master must never be carried away by an accumulation of wealth or a large number of followers. A bona fide spiritual master will never become like that. But sometimes if a spiritual master is not properly authorized, and only on his own initiative becomes a spiritual master, he may be carried away by an accumulation of wealth and large numbers of disciples. His is not a very high grade of devotional service. If a person is carried away by such achievements, then his devotional service becomes slackened. One should therefore strictly adhere to the principles of disciplic succession.
One's advancement in devotional service is not determined by how many followers he has. No. The external count of followers will never determine how much advanced or how much he is, going to the higher understandings of Bhakti. No. So, Rupa Goswami is telling even sometimes the Guru may utilize the wealth offered by his disciples, but that in itself will not determine his progress, accumulation of wealth. No. What determines is actually how he is engaging in those 64 principles. They are the real way to progress. If these are offered, say number of followers or wealth, if they are used to practice those 64 limbs without becoming attached to them, then it's wonderful. But they themselves will not help one to advance like that. So that was about service done by accumulation of wealth and followers. So now there is another aspect coming of cultivation of qualities. So many wonderful qualities we see, which are very, very saintly, noble, being kind, being non-violent, being nowadays dharmic, patriotic, wonderful qualities. They have their place surely. At the same time, we should know that bhakti is not dependent on these qualities. Can you read? A Krishna conscious person.
A Krishna conscious person, being naturally purified, has no need of developing any other purificatory process of thought or action.
Continue.
On account of his being highly elevated in Krishna consciousness, he has already acquired all the good qualities and is following the rules and regulations prescribed for the mystic yogic process. Such rules are automatically practiced by the devotees.
Prabhupada would often quote that yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinshana sarvais gunais tatra samasate. So all the qualities which devatas are characterized by, wonderful saintly qualities, they all appear in a person who has developed akinchana bhakti towards Lord and Guru. So one example Prabhupada says, non-violence. One should practice non-violence. Yeah, but non-violence, as we see in Bhagavad Gita, is not a standalone principle. It is not an independent principle. The independent principle is, okay, what is necessary to establish the will of the Lord? If it is by the violence, then violence is done, like Arjuna did. If it is by practice of non-violence, then non-violence. So Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita purports how it is not the highest standard of spiritual practice, non-violence. Bhagavad Gita doesn't advocate non-violence. Bhagavad Gita advocates that do what is pleasing to Krishna, what is ordained by Krishna, do the will of Krishna. Another example Prabhupada takes here is, okay, of course, it's a part within vegetarian, becoming vegetarian, or in today's terms, vegan. Is it not? But that is also very conditional. So, okay, we are saying non-violence, but are we seeing that every jiva is connected to Krishna? And in that sense, are we respecting their existence in following this quality of non-violence? Otherwise, it's incomplete. I remember one very famous American NGO head this was quoted by one of the Swamis. He was saying that this lady was so much for protecting animals. She was a volunteer for PETA, unethical treatment of animals, something like that. PETA, there is an very famous organization of protecting animals being exploited. But she failed to see that the breakfast she had, hot dogs, was actually coming because of violence. So such incomplete vision, imperfect vision is actually is not right practice, right? So they are fighting for protecting animals. They are fighting for non-violence, but they fail to see this connection. So it is a good qualification. It is a good quality, but it should be seen in connection to spiritual truths, in connection to the Supreme Lord. So there are many other instances. Prabhupada says devotees need not practice other qualities, cultivate these qualities, thinking that those qualities will help them in devotional service and will actually make them advance in devotional service. No. Can you read this? Those who are intentionally
practicing to be vegetarians or to become non-violent may have good qualifications by a material estimation, but these qualifications are not sufficient to make them devotees. A vegetarian is not necessarily a devotee, nor is a non-violent person, but a devotee is automatically both vegetarian and non-violent. We must conclude, therefore, that vegetarianism or non-violence is not the cause of devotion.
Very clearly put out. At the same time, Prabhupada also mentions that an example of how a devotee exhibits perfect non-violence. Earlier, he was a very cruel person, Brigari. This comes in Skanda Puran. But later, after taking up devotional service, he becomes so spiritual visioned that he is not wanting to harm even an ant, seeing it as a part and parcel of Lord. So in that way, all these qualities naturally manifest in someone who has developed devotional service like that. So when we in society see these qualities, we respect that. We don't say that's wrong or we don't speak against them. At the same time, we should know that that in itself will not help one advance in devotional service. One has to come to this understanding of how Lord Krishna is the source of all good qualities, and serving him, one will be blessed with all good qualities in the right vision.
Prabhuji?
Yes.
Prabhuji, I remember reading this particular incident that somebody came up to Srila Prabhupada and said that he's a vegetarian, was bragging about being a vegetarian. And Prabhupada was like, so what vegetarian? Even monkeys are vegetarian.
In Isha Upanishad purpose, he mentions this. Even a monkey and animals, cow and others are vegetarian.
Until unless you're offering bhoga to Krishna, vegetarian doesn't mean anything.
Right. Thank you for that point. Nice. Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that the purification of consciousness, bodily activities, austerities, peace of mind, all these become manifest in a person who is engaged in bhakti. So this was description of what are not the limbs of devotional service. 4 of them we saw. Quickly, please recollect.
Varna ashrama.
Varna ashrama duties. Then
Vairagya.
Jnana and Vairagya, they go together only. That's the second. And then third?
Money, accumulation of wealth and services through
Followers.
Followers. Yeah.
Gaining followers. That's
vegetarian or non-violence.
That is cultivation of qualities, saintly qualities.
Cultivation of qualities.
Independent of devotional service. If one cultivates those qualities, they are not limbs of bhakti. Okay. So at the same time, in bhakti, we are told to cultivate tolerance, humility, all this. But always you see them, they are all connected to Lord Krishna and service to Lord Krishna, and their, how they breed more and more devotional consciousness. So their basis is Krishna, and their goal is also to attain more and more service to Krishna. Now on Rupa Goswami, before ending the discussion on Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, he wants to say that there are these very standard limbs of devotional service mentioned in Bhagavatam. He has mentioned 64, but there are 9 limbs mentioned in Bhagavatam. We all know in Prahlad Maharaj's prayer, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, all that. And he mentions that there are 2 ways of following it. One is someone does only one limb of them. That's called Ekanga Bhakti. Ekanga Bhakti. One takes shelter of one limb, say hearing, say worship, say dasyam, like that. That's called Ekanga Bhakti. Another is one does multiple of them. Aneka Anga Bhakti. And both ways will give perfection. Because taking shelter of even one of them, if not more, is also so powerful. Read this. There are 9 different kinds.
Yeah. Srila Rupa Goswami affirms herein that there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, which are listed as hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping the deity in the temple, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as a friend, and sacrificing everything for him. Each and every one of these processes is so powerful that if anyone follows even one single one of them, he can achieve the desired perfection without faith.
So one can follow one of them or many of them. Like there is a statement here. I failed to highlight that. Read this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's explained. One may execute
1, 2, 3 or all the different processes of devotional service. And at the ultimate end, he will achieve the desired goal of being established in devotional service.
So at this place, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes a very famous shloka in the devotional realm, telling how even one limb dominantly practiced by one personality gave him perfection. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit Abhavat. Parikshit got perfection by Shravana. Vaiyasaki Kirtane. Vaiyasaki means whom, no?
Shukadeva Goswami.
Yeah, the son of Vyasa is called Vaiyasaki. Vyasa Vaiyasaki, that is Shukadeva, correct. Prahlada Smarane. Prahlada got by Smarana. Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi. Angri Bhajane Lakshmi. This is who? This is what limb? Pada Sevanam. Is it not? Lakshmi. And Pruthu Pujane. The limb of Archana Pujane by Pruthu. Akrurastvatu Abhivandane. Vandana by Akrura. Kapipatir Dasyetha Sakhya. Sakhyarjuna. Kapipati means Hanuman. He did by Dasya. And Sakhya. Who followed Sakhya? That's Arjuna. Sarvasvatmani Vedane Balira Bhoot. Bali Maharaja offered Sarvasva Atmani Vedana. Krishna Pir Esham Param. So by this they attained Krishna. So you all know that how different people attained perfection. They are emblems of these practices, is it not? Hearing Parikshita Maharaj, chanting Shukadev Goswami, that is Kirtana, glorifying Lord, remembering Prahlada, praying Akrura. Is it not? Like this, all of them is listed. Worshipping Lord's lotus feet, Lakshmi, deity worship Prithu Maharaj, Dasya servitude Hanuman, friendship Sakya Arjuna, Atma Nivedana by Bali Maharaj. So these are Ekanga Bhakti. Now Rupa Goswami also goes to further show how someone who did all of them and attained perfection. The example given is Ambarisha. You know, that famous shloka of Ambarish Maharaja, Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor. So he has fixed his mind on Krishna, Lord Krishna's feet. That is Smarana. Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnane. What is this? Which limb is this? Vaikuntha Guna Anuvarnana.
Hearing.
This is Kirtana. He's doing through his words. Vachamsi. Karau Harer Mandira Marjana Dishu. He's doing cleaning of the temple. This is a part of Archana. Shrutim Chakarachyuta Satkatodage. He is hearing the Satkata, Achyuta Katha. This is Shravana.
Yes.
Is it not? Mukunda Linga Laya Darshane Drishav. He is using his eyes to see the beautiful form of Mukunda. This is Archana. Tadbhritya Gatra Sparshenga Sangamam. He is using sense of touch to serve the devotees, their Vapuseva. So this is like a Pada Sevana, you can say, is it not? Ghranam cha tat pada saroja saurabhe, using his sense of smell for smelling the wonderful flowers offered to Lord Lotus feet. Srimat tulasya rasanam tadarpite. This is again, many of them are connected to the Archana. Padau hare kshetra padanu sarpane. Feet for going towards Lord's holy places. Shiro Rishikesha Padabhivandane. Offering respect to Lord by bowing down once, touching one's head to the feet of Lord. It could be Vandana, it could be Archana, is it not? Kamam chadasye natu kama kamyaya. The desire are only to please Supreme Lord. Yatha uttama shloka janashrayar. So Maharaj Ambarish, he followed multiple limbs, all of them in fact. He is an emblem for Anek Anga Bhakti. So Ekanga Bhakti, each of them shown graphically by many personalities for each. Anekanga Bhakti Ambarisha is. So what is told here is, there are examples for both. One person followed only one limb dominantly and he attained success. Are people who followed multiple, all the limbs, and they attained perfection. Like this, there is description is that. So the idea is that, can you read this?
The idea is that we should follow in the footsteps of great devotees. If we are unable to execute all the different items of devotional service, we must try to execute at least one of them, as exemplified by previous acharyas. If we are engaged in the execution of all the items of devotional service, as was Maharaja Ambarisha, then the perfection of devotional service is guaranteed from each one of these items.
Can you read ahead also, Prabhu? Just few more lines.
With the first complete engagement, one becomes automatically detached from material contamination, and liberation becomes the maidservant of the devotee. This idea is confirmed by Bilvamangala Thakura. If one develops unalloyed devotion to the Lord, liberation will follow the devotee as his maidservant.
Below, Sri Rupa Goswami says.
Srila Rupa Goswami says that the regulative principles of devotional service are sometimes described by authorities as the path of serving the Lord in opulence.
Opulence. So, path of serving the Lord in opulence, it is talked as Maryada Marga. You offer a great respect to Lord. This is told by the Vallabhacharya Sampradaya specifically as Maryada Marga. So Rupa Goswami mentions that too here. So that completes the chapter 14. So what did we see today? We saw, we completed the description of 5 potent forms. Right? How each of them, what is the result of those 5 potent forms? In one word?
Bhava.
Bhava. Very right. And that symptoms of bhava are described differently in different shloka. Like relinquishing the material attachments, seeing moksha dharma artha kama as very insignificant, feeling transcendental beauty and sweetness, all that, many, many ways. Each of those limbs were giving rise to. And then we started seeing what are not the limbs of, what are not included in the 64 limbs, which people usually mistaken to be the limbs of bhakti. The 4 of them, Varnashrama,
Jnana and
Jnana
renunciation.
Vairagya, then the cultivation, wealth and followers, and lastly,
Cultivation of saintly activity qualities.
And after this, Rupa Goswami goes on to explain how usually these 9 limbs, actually 64 limbs, 9 limbs, they all actually map onto one another. So the 9 limbs can be either only one also followed, or many followed, or all followed. Even one is also so powerful. There are examples for how one followed only one dominantly and attained perfection. And there are examples of how one followed all and attained perfection, Ambarish. So the thrust is take to at least one limb, take shelter of one limb of bhakti. Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have told that among all the limbs, the most important are Shravana and Kirtana. Very, very important. So Srila Prabhupada gave this wonderful facility to hear and chant the glories of Lord, the names of Lord, the descriptions of his glories. And it is our great fortune that we are able to learn this by reading these wonderful books, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. So this completes Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. In the Sadhana Bhakti, there is another part called Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti that will be described in chapter 15 and 16. We will see that in our next session. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Rupa Goswami Pada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, any
Sorry
question?
to interrupt you, Prabhu. Prabhu, last two slides, can you just open, Prabhu?
Which slide?
The shloka,
Okay, the
Anekagna Bhakti, the previous shlokas, Prabhu.
So Anekanga Bhakti, you can note it, Bhagavatam 9.4.18 to 20.
The previous two slides, Prabhu.
Okay, the previous one is Ekanga Bhakti. What happened to this? One. The nine limbs are summarized here, and
Yes,
who stands for each of them.
The
And
previous
there is a verse to this. You want me to show that?
Yeah, verse, Prabhu.
This verse is actually it's a very famous verse. The author is not known, but it is listed in Padyavali by Rupa Goswami, and he quotes it here. Shri Vishnu's Shravane Parikshita Bhavad Vayasaki Kirtane. Like that.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
This is from there. Ekanga. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just clarification, Prabhu. These devotees who performed Ekanga Bhakti, they were prominent in doing one, but they also could be following others, right, Prabhu?
They also could be following, but
Yeah.
one could very clearly see that they took shelter of one of them.
Yeah.
They were following others. We can never say that one doesn't do Archana or, Vandana. It's like Parikshit, he's doing Vandana, praying, is it not? We don't say that only Shravana. But he took shelter of that limb so exclusively. And one can see their amazing example of that practice. Like Parikshit's hearing, wow, he's an emblem of hearing. Vayasaki, Shukadev Goswami's glorification of or Kirtana, how he's really in attitude, in the way he glorified, in the extent he did it, amazing, unparalleled. The Prahlada's remembrance of unparalleled. So each of them, they showed that limb perfectly. And of course, these are all Nitya Siddha Bhaktas, but they are showing it for all of our.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. We will meet Monday. We are coming to the last part of this book, and very soon, today you have seen the 2 more shlokas. That means total 4 shlokas of this unit. You know by now. Very soon we will disclose the slots for shloka memorization test?
Hare
Only 4. It's you all have done Bhagavad Gita, which has so many shlokas. So 4 is not very difficult. And you should all be the first to book your slot because we have limited slots on each day.
Hare.
So kindly do not be the ones who have only the early slots. You will have to memorize quickly in that case because people usually choose the last slots first. Anyways. So thank you very much. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai, Srila Prabhu.
Jai Shri Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Pranam.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna.